Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
When the good Lord is ready for you to leave this world, there isn't a mask or any amount of hand sanitizer that's going to save you. That's it. Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Monday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you, Zeb at the Ranch, and glad to have you with us. And our thanks go to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a safe, clean environment, open and serving you with the best in tires, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you, and Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whew, good. Very good. Thank you, Doug. God bless you, man. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time for the weather to kick things off on Zeb at the Ranch for this morning, and the weather brought to you by Roger and the crew at K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Oh, my, are they busy this time of the year. They've got the best of tools and equipment for all the jobs, especially right now working in the garden or on the lawn, all the power rakes, all the rototillers, everything. Stop by and see them today for both long and short-term rental, K&R Rental. Right now, here's the weather.
Mostly cloudy and windy. Here's a look at your weather forecast for today. Clouds are going to be sticking around. Maybe some rain showers, maybe some thunder bumpers by this afternoon. High of 77. Wind is going to be a factor. Gusts as high as 30-plus miles an hour. Tonight, that is going to continue, gradually tapering off. We are expecting a low of 43. Tomorrow, a slight chance of rain showers and possibly some thunderstorms by the afternoon. We will see a little bit of sunshine. Still going to be breezy and a high of about 64 by tomorrow night. 50% chance of rain showers with a low of 43. Then by Wednesday, guess what? More rain. High of 56. That's what's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I think it's going to be kind of a wet, soggy week, but needless to say, we do need the moisture. Hey, come on, right now it's 54 degrees outside, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. You can't miss them. Have questions? Give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. I want to remind you about my friends. Kevin, doggone it, you better give me a call and let me know how you're doing. Kevin over to Daryl's Cleaners took a hard fall, and we certainly hope he is healing up. Absolutely. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Nobody does as good a job as they do. Dry cleaning and taking care of all your clothes and doing all your drapes and everything else. And I'll tell you, if you don't have time to wash your clothes, take them in there. Wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mama. And I'll tell you, they'll take care of it. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Keith.
Good news for you. You know, the sugar
Cookie Express is back in business.
The Sugar Cookie Express. Huh? I had to laugh at that. That's good. I like that. Well, you tell the Sugar Cookie Express queen that I appreciate that.
Yes, and she's looking forward to it. So don't be surprised if some doesn't show up on your doorstep one of these days.
Well, God bless you. And by the way, may I say that you and your lovely bride, and then, of course, the old stalwarts of the Lunch Bunch showed up in great numbers last week, Thursday, over to Denny's, and we had a callback group, the Honkers. We had a great time honking our horns and enjoying ourselves at Denny's out in the parking lot. I want to say thank you to you and Nancy and Jerry Voss and his wife and everybody that's there. I don't want to mention all the names. I might forget somebody. But God bless you for being there. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and not once did Governor Cuomo try to ban sugar cookies, and I'm glad.
Hey, listen, you tell that Sugar Cookie Queen, that's hard to say fast 5 times, and how much we appreciate her, and we'll look forward to it. And God bless you. I got to run right now, but thanks, Keith, for breaking the ice this morning. Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, sir. Thank you. The good people. I mean, we had such a good time over there. Penny Main at the Chamber of Commerce. Penny, if you're listening this morning, you should be. Thank you for all your help. I mean, the Chamber was outstanding, and they came over, and we had, I don't know, there's 40, 50 cars showed up and had lunch, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support. Everybody, thank you. All the honkers. I loved every minute of it. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Let's not forget our good friends at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and they literally have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Word cooling comes to mind because we're headed into the summertime, and we get up there around the 80s and 85 mark. You know, you're going to have a little cool air there at your office desk or whatever. Well, they've got all the filters for your cooling conditions on your air filters. You give them a call, and they'll help you or stop in at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Open 7:30 to 5. Number to call, 678-0459. The best. Ramsey Heating and Electric, serving you. And a quick note, too, about our friends over to Dino's Septic Service. I tell you what, they just get bigger and better, and they do so much for you. And I'm really proud to have them on the program. Dino's Septic Service, and they do so much that you're not aware of, perhaps. I mean, septic tank pumping, you knew that, along with the drain fields installed and the septic tanks installed, septic inspections, liquid waste removal, all of this and so much more. I urge you to call the number for fast, fair, friendly service. I can attest to that. It's true. Number 436-6526 or 678-1638. The best serving you with a big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
My friend.
Hey, you know, they're saying now we need to wear masks. So I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. If masks work, why don't we give masks to prisoners instead of turning them out?
Don't even, well, yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I appreciate your call. But you talk about turning the heat up high on my temper this morning. That is exactly what I was talking to a very good friend of mine about on Friday. Why are we, well, you know the answer as well as I do. It's the liberal left's way of absolutely loosening any kind of value system or any kind of lawful system in our country by letting these prisoners go. Oh, absolutely. Put masks on them. I mean, and hand sanitizer. Gee, isn't that what we're having to do?
Exactly. That's exactly it. So I'm afraid, and I pray it's not true, but I'm afraid the Democrats are taking notes, the socialists are taking notes on what's going on and how the people have reacted to this shutdown and this pandemic and everything that's going on. And heaven forbid we get another progressive or socialist or Democrat up there in the White House, what they're going to do.
Doug, I'm sure that you've got neighbors or friends or business associates or whatever that absolutely despise Donald Trump and they despise the Republicans and the conservative thinking. But how can anyone in their right mind, I mean, if the hamster's turning the wheel even a little bit, how can they possibly see a benefit of getting a left-wing loon in there with the green energy and the exorbitant costs and the single-payer health insurance and all the socialistic ideas? What is the matter with these people?
They don't think for themselves, and I don't require you to think like I do. I just want you to think.
I can't argue with what you just said, but I'm really getting upset, even outside the radio, outside the borders of this radio program, on the purported stupidity of the left and what they're trying to do. I mean, no school. I mean, come on, get with the program. California State University system are saying, well, we're not going to have school in the fall because we're afraid of the what-ifs. I said a long time ago on this program, and I maintain that I'm right. You can't live your life worrying about the what-ifs. You have to worry about the what-is.
Exactly. The Lord will take care of the what-ifs.
Yep.
You just put your trust in Him and pray. He will handle the what-ifs. You just handle what you can handle on the what is.
Hey,
right.
Do me a favor real quick, and it's got to be in realm with keeping with the time of all my other advertisers, but Doug's alternator and starter repair for sale, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a turnkey business, right?
Yes, sir.
And you'll teach the people the business, right?
I'll teach them how to do the starters and alternators.
And it's a beautiful building, right?
Yes, it's 3 years old.
And a beautiful, beautiful array of all the equipment necessary, right?
Exactly. All the hand tools you'll need, and equipment to test.
All right, and it's located at 635 21st Street in Heyburn, right?
Yes, sir.
And the number to call for a great business opportunity for a turnkey business is 878-4991, right?
Yes, sir.
And after hours, 431-5282.
Yes, sir.
We are not taking any left turns. They were all right turns.
Yeah, except NASCAR yesterday. They took a few left turns.
Yeah, they did. Doug, God bless you, man. I got to go. Thanks.
Hey, everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. Let's support them how we can, because they're really struggling in this government overreach shutdown.
Amen. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. I'll appreciate it and talk to you later. Thank you. Hey, Kent McClellan wants your vote for Minidoka County Commissioner. And as you know, it's a mail-in ballot this year. Absolutely. If you haven't requested your ballot, you better get her done. Get her done. IdahoVotes.gov or call your county clerk today. Don't forget. Kent McClellan wants your vote to stay in as a Minidoka County Commissioner, and he's done a great job, too. 10 years as Minidoka County Commissioner, 9 years on the Paul City Council, Mini-Cassia Veterans Board as an advisor and liaison with the county. He was not a vet, but I'll tell you, he serves those that were. Vote for Kent McClellan for Minidoka County Commissioner, paid for by John A. Burt Stevenson. Thank you very much. Caller, you have been extremely patient. Thank you.
Good morning, Zeb. You talk about the mask. There's a lot of studies now starting to come out that wearing these masks, if you're healthy, is unhealthy.
Yep.
And this is a big problem because a lot of people, you're just regurgitating, you're creating a nice, warm, moist environment for anything you might already have that you're just going to reinfect yourself. And this has actually been proven. So everything they're doing is just counterproductive. The other thing, of course, that really irritates me is they put us into fear mode every day because of the number of cases. Well, how many people are actually going to the hospital, even in Twin Falls County? Very few. It's the number of cases is really doesn't mean anything. Yeah, we're testing more. The people that really need to be tested are those care workers in our senior citizens, homes,
yeah,
like Bridge and so forth. They need to be tested and clear, but the rest of us, it's just kind of meaningless. So it's all about destroying this economy, and the fact they will not acknowledge Dr. Fossey included, the hydroxychloroquine, which has actually been working very well if you catch it early enough to reduce the deaths from the virus. But the media is going to just totally ignore that, and they have, and they're pushing, of course, that is a very inexpensive treatment, so they want you to hunker down into something a lot more expensive. It's really untested. Hydroxychloroquine's been around for decades.
Yeah. Adrian, let me jump in here and just say, due to the fact that I got a whole list of callers lined up, but I want to just absolutely agree with you, and we're going to be talking here in just a second about a New Jersey gym owner, and I want to get this on the air this morning, and I think you'll find it very interesting as to what's happening to this man this morning as we speak. So God bless you for your call, all your calls. I appreciate. Thanks, Adrian.
About Saul Alinsky's models, they're divide and conquer. This country's never been more divided than it is now.
I couldn't agree more.
And then you demonize anybody that disagrees with this lockdown.
Yep.
And, of course, then they just make it up. That's the three tenets of Saul Alinsky, who dedicated his book, Rules for Radicals, to Satan, Lucifer.
I appreciate it.
Where they're coming from.
Absolutely. Adrian, God bless you, man. Drive careful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Caller, I'll be right with you on line number 2. Stand by. And, Wheels, can we please have the good word for the May 19th primaries?
Be sure to mail in your May 19th primary election ballots. Here's Representative Fred Wood.
Hopefully everyone eligible to vote has requested their absentee ballot from their county clerk by this time. If not, please do so soon. When you receive your absentee ballot packet, fill out your ballot. Next, carefully read and follow the instructions regarding the process of ballot in the gold envelope in the white envelope, and signing the white envelope. Then mail the white signed envelope. Paid Fred Wood Campaign.
There you go, Fred. Thank you, and I appreciate it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say I already voted, and I hope I get my stickers soon.
There you. I got my stickers right here.
What's that?
I say I've got my stickers right here on the desk.
Okay. On the other side of things, Doug, I hate to say it, Doug, but they are watching and they are keeping record and they are keeping track of just how easy it was to throw us under the bus and throw the public into a panic, confine us, and it makes me wonder if people showed up with guns and cattle cars and said, load up, how many would jump on or how many would stand and fight? And I hate to say it that way, but that's the kind of the way I feel about it. How many people would actually just blindly go along with something without question? Because the government, I hate to tell you people, government's not in your best interest, trust me. They're in the interest of putting money in the politician's pocket.
Yeah.
And that's just pretty much the way it is. And people may disagree with me, and I really don't care, but that's just the way it's been.
I respect that, Riley. Thank you very much. You're always a straight shooter on this program. God bless you, man, for your call. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a safe day.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Thank you. This gym owner in New Jersey, this is a story that I want to put on the air this morning because it really is newsworthy. And at the break at 9 o'clock, I'm going to try to get an update on this. And Deanne, if you're listening, if you can help me on that, I'd appreciate it. There's a gym owner back in New Jersey that has said he's going to defy the governor of New Jersey on the closure. Why? Because he said other big box businesses are open and he's had to close his doors, and for over 6-7 weeks now, he is just about to the point where he's bankrupt. Okay, a half a mile down the road from this gym is a huge Walmart store with no restrictions. Everybody's going in there. They're shopping, living life almost in a sense of normalcy. And he's had to close, the gym owner's had to close his business. Now, this New Jersey gym owner this morning was warned by the governor. He was warned by the governor's office that if he opened up his gym at 8 o'clock this morning, they would come in underneath the guns and uniforms of the state police. Now, I have been told prior to going on the air this morning that they had drones in the air surveilling all the people standing out in front with placards advocating that the gym open up. And they have the state police on call just a mile or so down the road, plus SWAT units. Ladies and gentlemen, I just throw this at you. This is America, a legal business that's on the verge of losing everything and never to come back. They're on the verge of losing their life savings. This man is on the verge of losing all of his employees. They're on the verge of being broke. And all they want to do is compete for the dollars out there available in their business when businesses like Walmart and others can be legal and essential. He's deemed non-essential. This is total baloney. Baloney. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I'll tell you what. You say to yourself, how is it that elected officials, they're the worst qualified people to actually do something in this situation? You say to yourself, these people are so drunk with power that you know that their egos are running the show. And how is it that we end up electing these miserable losers? It just scares me. I don't know. Saturday night, I was driving through Twin, about 6, and I noticed that there's for sale signs on restaurants, and apparently they have went under. You see, if there's a whole bunch of restaurants for sale, none of them will be worth much.
Well, Randy, I don't care if it's a restaurant. I don't care if it's a gym. I don't care if it's a jewelry store. How dare anyone have the audacity and the pompous, arrogant attitude of saying that that is not an essential business? How dare any governor, including ours, Governor Little, say the same thing? I mean, when people's lives are on the line, if you own, like I've said many times, and I even told the governor on my call with him about 3 weeks ago, essential and non-essential is a bunch of malarkey because of the fact that are all essential for the income and, of course, the support of that family. And this gym owner is going to defy it. But in America, Randy, right now flying overhead are drones that are recording all the action for the state police and SWAT units standing by. I mean, my gosh, this is absolutely insidious.
See, this is the thing. It's literally fascism. They're fear tactics. In other words, if you decide to do this, this is what we're going to do to you. And see, you could try to go to court, but by the time you get into court or get some sort of a settlement, you're done. You're cooked.
And then you listen to de Blasio, one of the absolutely biggest airbags that ever held a political office, the mayor of the largest city in the United States, New York City, and begging people to turn their neighbors in if they see them outside without wearing a mask in their garden or going out to get the mail at their mailbox. I could not imagine, and I'm slamming my fist down on this, Randy, I never thought in my lifetime I'd see America degenerate to this state of armed rule.
Well, your caller that drives truck that's in the livestock industry, he said, how many will line up and go into the trailer?
Yep.
Just obediently doing it. I mean, you see, we're supposed to be able to have some sort of free will, some sort of discernment on what is right and wrong, and we're supposed to be treated like, adults, and we haven't been allowed to, even by Mr. Brad Little. Every day I talk to farmers. I just got through talking to a farmer. I says, what do you think's going to happen? He says, I don't want to even talk about it. He just got in his truck and left. And he's my close friend.
Yeah. And then you have the idiocy, and that's what it is. And if people are offended by that terminology, then go turn on Barry Manilow or put on a record player from the 60s or whatever. But you have the idiocy of Garcetti, the mayor in Los Angeles, saying, well, we're going to keep everything closed, I think, until about July. July? Are you kidding me?
You wonder how he's... Well, they want to recall Garcetti, but because he won't let people out, they can't get to 300. They need 300,000 signatures. And believe me, I bet you they could get them in short order. This guy is out of control. You know, during my, speaking to people about this, elected officials around our state, one of them, or more than one, told me that Brad Little was out of control. That was their description.
Well, let me ask you a question. I got a question, and I don't mean to sound like I'm trying to be facetious over this, but give me a good straight answer. I want you to put on your thinking construction hat for a minute, okay? Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, and listen. In Los Angeles, the mayor has made a dictate that says if you want to go to the beach, you can only walk in the wet sand and not stand or walk in the dry sand. My question to you, a very sharp person, how do you get from the wet sand to the car if you don't walk on the dry sand? Help me, please.
I know. I've seen this, and I said to myself, this guy is completely off his rocker. He's drunk with power. Whether or not it's the governor of Michigan or Illinois, New Jersey, New York, these people are killing us.
Absolutely. Randy, I appreciate your call this morning. God bless you, man. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Bye.
I saw that on the news the other night, and I honestly thought it was a made-up fairy tale. But seriously, the mayor said, now, if you're going to go to the beach, you can only walk or run in the wet sand areas. Remember that, wet sand areas. Then my question, sitting there as I was watching the news, how does one get from his or her car or mode of transportation to go across the dry sand to get to the wet sand? And what the hell difference does it make? Somebody please help me on this. I'm frustrated. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Robert Kunow wants your vote for Cassia County Commissioner, District 2. This man has been a county commissioner for quite some time, and he wants to stay in office to continue to approach the office of Cassia County Commissioner with an open mind and desire to serve the people of Cassia County. He's also been a board member for South Central Public Health, board member of Community Action, and a board member of Region 4 Development. Conservative principles, and he wants your vote May 19th, tomorrow, for Cassia County Commissioner, District 2. Robert Kunow, Cassia County Commissioner, District 2. Vote for him and paid for by Robert Kunow. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I honestly can't believe this. I mean, I'm sitting here with the Whitmer in Michigan and the Illinois governor. I mean, boy, you talk about two peas in a pod that are dumber than a post, and some of their edicts. And then you've got Gil Garcetti down there in L.A., stay in the wet sand only and do not walk or sit in the dry sand. Okay. Stupid. And then you've got SWAT units standing by. These are killing machines, SWAT units. And drones flying overhead right now, and state police ready to go in and arrest the owner of a New Jersey gym because he defies the order and he's got to stay open or he's going to go broke. Oh, my goodness. Caller, good morning. Help me. You're on the air.
morning, Zeb. As I've stated before, this whole thing is common sense. Use your common sense. If you're not feeling good, stay home. If you're afraid of getting sick, then stay home or minimize your exposure to other people. But I really don't think that anybody in any state, any of the union, anywhere, has the right to tell us that we cannot go out, we cannot work, we cannot make a living to support our families. They have no right to tell us that we can't go out and rope with our friends or go to the beach and catch a few sunbrays.
Yeah, and that's
the right to do that. And that's frustrating the living crap out of me.
Well, and that's another point. I have refused to listen to that garbage, which I think it is. I am going to live my life for the term that God wants me to stay on this good earth. And that's kind of the opening that I had this morning, that when God calls us home, that's it. And no amount of hand sanitizer or mask is going to start to change that or alter that. I believe in that entirely. I'm going to be with my family. I'm going to be with friends. I'm going to live my lifestyle. And quite frankly, if somebody calls that selfish, that's your problem, not mine.
In my younger years, I had a pretty bad head injury while I was in my early 20s, and I got sent home, and I don't remember a whole lot due to the head injury itself as being involved. But I remember my grandfather, and you knew him, didn't have much for words sometimes, but I remember him coming and saying, "Son, you going to sit there and wait to die, or are you going to stand up and do something about it?"
There you go.
And I keep that in my mind. I mean, are we going to sit around and wait to die as a society, or are we going to stand up, put our boots on, put our hat on, and go outside and do something about it?
There you go, Riley. Very well stated. And again, I thank you for calling back. Thank you. The best quote, and for those that might be somewhat offended by this quote, again, I don't make any amends to that whatsoever. I'm going to tell it like it is on this program. And like I said, if you want to listen to something else, turn on Barry Manilow. Republican Louisiana Senator John Kennedy, in regards to the $3 trillion more in relief funding from the Democrats, and this is so insane. I mean, it's absolutely insane, this spending bill. And it would federalize elections, and it would give money to illegal aliens, and it would absolutely it'd be a promotion of the Democratic left, social change in values. That's all they want to do. Very little of this bill, of the $3 trillion, would go to relief money for small businesses. Well, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana said it absolutely the best when he said, let me get the exact quote right here, because I don't want to misquote him, that he said that the bill, which is proposing another $3 trillion in relief, was as dead as fried chicken. And then he also went on to say that when you try to look at things from Nancy Pelosi's perspective, we can't get our heads that far up our rear ends. I honestly fell out of the lazy boy and was rolling on the floor with laughter. I mean, this man tells it like it is. The stupidity and the absolute asinine approach to a $3 trillion more to just further democratic social means is ridiculous. And he said, well, when we try to see the coronavirus relief Pelosi's way, but we can't get our heads that far up our rear ends. John Kennedy, Republican senator from Louisiana, lead on, my friend. Lead on. Absolutely right. Oh, my goodness sakes. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Our very best thoughts and prayers go to Senator Kelly Anthon. Kelly, as you know, and I stated last week, under the weather, and I want everybody to send a card, well wishes, etc., and we pray that he'll soon be back up and running and raring to go. And then also my dear friend George Mass. George is doing much, much better, and he and his lovely wife Donna, friends of this program for a long time, and we wish the very best to George and Kelly. Thank you very much. right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. NASCAR was back this weekend with a race without fans. NASCAR was back with a pit crew wearing masks, and when he jumped out of the car, Kevin Harvick had to wear a mask. He was the winner of the race. At least it was back, providing some kind of a respite from reruns on TV that are about ready to make people sick. So NASCAR is back. Then there was also a golf tournament, and again without a gallery. And it was played by the golfers carrying their own bags, no caddies. And the golf officials were the only ones that could handle the flag sticks on the greens. But at least it is a comeback. But I would like to say something to Major League Baseball, comparable to what Senator John Kennedy said to Nancy Pelosi about getting your heads out of your you-know-what. Major League Baseball has an opportunity to come back with an abbreviated season on or near the 4th of July. But the Major League Players Association is in arbitration and negativity about coming back unless the players get a full salary. Now, I'm going to lump a great big wagon load of barnyard fecal material on this and say to the Major League Baseball Players Association and the players themselves, you better consider yourselves doggone lucky that you're going to get a chance to come back for even half a season at 50% of the salary and play the game that you love. So many people have had to suffer. So many people have had to go without. So many people like this gym owner in New Jersey defying the governor to stay open and at least kind of derive some kind of income to keep afloat. And you, Major League Baseball players, are going to be arguing about whether or not you can get a full salary of your multi-millions that you get every year? Take the 50% salary, shut up, and play the game. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Caller, talk to me. Hurry.
Yeah, good morning again. Calling back because there's something really sinister coming down the pike. It's called contact tracing. This is so unconstitutional, and our governor is taking $7 million from the CARES Act, and they're going to implement this. It's a surveillance deal that they would be able to come into your home, which of course is a direct violation of the Bill of Rights. But our governor, as Randy said earlier, he's totally out of control. And I talked to another person. He is just absolutely he's not listening except to his very close confidants, but he's not listening to the legislature or anything. But this contact tracing is so sinister. I mean, you talk about this would be China. And, of course, Bill Gates is in the middle of it. So is Dr. Fauci. They're recommending this. Gates would get, all of the electronic stuff to be able to do this. But it's so sinister, like you say, with going on and how the businesses are being destroyed, but then they want to come in and totally violate our individual privacy.
Yeah.
That is really sinister. And what would it accomplish as far as preventing the virus or anything like that? No. And like I said earlier, the cases don't mean anything. How many people are actually in the hospital? Not very many. And so it's just sinister that they want to do this. This is China. This is the surveillance that China puts on their people. Do we want that here? We better get hold of the governor, 334-2100, and stop this nonsense.
Absolutely. Adrian, I appreciate your calling back. I've got to get into my weather forecast right now, but you're right. Absolutely right. It's a very sinister situation right now and extremely un-American. Thank you so much. Appreciate your call.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
Thank you, sir.
We'll right with you, and we'll get hold of that governor and tell him to stop being a dictator. 334-2100.
Amen. Thank you. You know, there's so many governors.
Half a dozen times at least.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We need to be involved, folks. Don't just sit back and let it happen. Let's be involved.
There you go. Thank you. So many things going on right now, and we can't be like sponges. We can't be just kind of sitting there absorbing all of this. You need to be proactive. If you want to go along with the masks and the hand sanitizers and the being very cautious and staying behind closed doors and going, oh, woe is me, I better not step outside, you do it. It's your life. But on the other hand, for those of us that want to try to make a living and try to enjoy the life that God gave us, you do it. You do it. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you this hour by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and the number to call, 312-0957. And believe me, they have been so helpful during this trying time in making sure that your hearing health is taken care of. Hearing is essential for great communication, and at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, they are there to serve you. I mean, service is absolutely reigning supreme. They're right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room, and the number to call to make that appointment, 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Mostly cloudy and windy. Here's a look at your weather forecast for today. Clouds are going to be sticking around. Maybe some rain showers, maybe some thunder bumpers by this afternoon. High of 77. Wind is going to be a factor. Gusts as high as 30-plus miles an hour. Tonight, that is going to continue, gradually tapering off. We are expecting a low of 43. Tomorrow, a slight chance of rain showers and possibly some thunderstorms by the afternoon. We will see a little bit of sunshine. Still going to be breezy and a high of about 64 by tomorrow night. 50% chance of rain showers with a low of 43. Then by Wednesday, guess what? More rain. High of 56. That's what's your weather for Zebedee Ranch.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Great weather forecast, Gina. Sounds a little soggy, however. And, of course, the weather brought to you by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, always providing expert diagnostic testing combined with the best technology to serve your hearing health. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, number to call, 312-0957. All right, we've got time for another call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know who I find absolutely despicable for the way he's handling himself and trying to further his leftist ways? Barack Obama. Absolutely. Barack Obama, in my opinion, is breaking the code, an unwritten code of not criticizing your predecessors or the people that have come after you. And he was giving a commencement address online that was basically going to black graduating students at majority of black colleges and universities, and he absolutely denigrated the Trump administration and said they are pretending to be in charge. And he spoke with the animosity and the absolute resolution that this administration is worthless and it needs to go by the wayside. I understand politics. Believe me, it's a dirty, dirty game. But Barack Obama is trying to make this not a Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. He's trying to make this election a Donald Trump versus Barack Obama. That's exactly what's happening. And when it comes to Joe Biden, oh my goodness. Did you hear him last week from the basement? Did you hear him on the answering of certain questions by certain news shows and commentators? The man's mind is gone. It's gone. Now, am I making light of that? Absolutely not. I feel sorry and sympathy for the man. But he has no business, none, to be running for the presidency of the United States. Joe Biden is not capable. That's it. I don't know who he's going to select as a possible running mate. But the Democrats are already coming out from behind closed doors and saying that person has to be qualified to take over the presidency, which all the more solidifies the fact that we cannot put anyone from the Democratic Party in the Oval Office at this very, very critical time. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, too, our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental Sales, Service, and Parts. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley and 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. I mean, they've got the whole shooting match, all the inventory of the Bobcats and all the trenchers and the scissor lifts and all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. Everything for the lifting, the digging, the pushing, and the carrying. It's all there. I urge you to stop in and give them a call today. The best of financing programs and rental programs at Berry Equipment and Rental in Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
Reading this as you was talking about Biden, and it's a quote from Noah Webster. When a citizen gives his vote to a man of known immorality, he abuses his civic responsibility and he betrays the interest of his country.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I read that just as you was talking about Biden.
Did you have a chance at all on Friday or Saturday to pick up on some of the news clips of Joe Biden and the potential answering of questions that were given to him? I mean, audience, please, this is not me. This is an imitation of Joe Biden, so bear with me just a second. I'm not sure. That's exactly how he answered everything. The mind is there, but it's in limited fashion.
Yes, the light's on, but I don't think nobody's awake.
There you go. There you go.
And it's unfortunate.
It is.
You know, as we get older, things like this happen to us.
Absolutely.
And I do not wish ill on anybody. I feel sorry for Mr. Biden, but he has no business running for the President of the United States.
Can you imagine for 30 seconds standing at a podium and going into a head-to-head debate live on television over the entire world with Donald Trump and answering very specific questions about China, about trade, about the economy, about healthcare? I mean, the man is not able to answer anything in a constructive sentence, let alone get into a verbal debate and harangue with the current president.
And when he answered that one question about his involvement with General Flynn, he answered one way and then turned around and contradicted his answer within 1 minute.
I'm just telling you, Doug, this is not meant to be derogatory against the man because of his problem, but he is not, underline the word not, presidential quality and capability. We can't have that man or someone like him running the country.
Well, they put him up, in my opinion, they've put him up as an empty suit, and they will tell him what to do and how to do it.
For as long as that even works.
Exactly.
Yeah. Doug, I got to run. Thank you. Appreciate you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. You know, one way to shut Obama up forever and ever would be to have a debate between him and President Trump. he cannot say 2 words without duh,
yeah,
without a teleprompter. He would actually fry himself if he had to go face-to-face with Donald Trump.
You are spot on, because Barack Obama is one of the worst impromptu speakers I have ever heard. I could not agree with you more, and that was amplified last week when I heard some of his answers to various questions from journalists. There were so many ahs and ums in there and pauses. The man is absolutely, like you said, very succinctly, without a teleprompter, he's lost in the desert and he can't find the road sign to get out of there.
You know, I hate to admit this, but back, I think it's in like 2001 or something like that, when Obama made his speech at the Democratic convention or whatever, and I told my wife then, this guy is really sharp.
Yeah.
He might go somewhere someday. But it's his teleprompter that made him what he is.
I got to run, Keith. I'm running late, but you're 100% spot on. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Don't go away. Oh, good morning on an overcast Monday, but it's sun shining in the studio. By golly, Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, open and serving you in a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget also our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing, senior living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And right now, Wheels has got this word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services.
Boy, I tell you what, these folks have been phenomenal. Western Waste Services serving you. You need to get on the route service? Give them a call, 734-6969. Want a dumpster to clean things out like we did? Holy moly. They've got different sizes. Give them a call, 734-6969. Always at your disposal, Western Waste Services. Wheels, the good word for the May 19th primaries, please.
Be sure to mail in your May 19th primary election ballots. Here's Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke.
The primary election on May 19th is quickly approaching. You should all have received a ballot request form in the mail. Fill it out and send it in. Then you will get the official ballot back to you in the mail. Read the directions carefully and fill it out. Put it in the envelope, and don't forget to sign the envelope and send it in. It's just that easy. Paid for by Bedkeeper, Idaho.
Thank you, Scott. And also, don't forget our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Nick Greenwell, every Thursday on the air, telling us about all the different facility items and how they treat you and all the exercise programs, everything to help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And the number to call, make an appointment. I urge you to do it today, right now, 678-1191. I'll repeat that, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Excellent people serving you, again, so you can get back to being just like you want to be. Fit and healthy and enjoying life. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and a gentleman that means a lot to this program and all of his straight answers. We say good morning to the President for Americans of Limited Government. Good morning, Rick. How are you? Rick Manning.
I'm doing great. How are you, Zeb?
I have a question for you, and you being kind of a walking encyclopedia, I know you can give me a good answer. Are you ready?
It's pretty big pressure.
Okay, well, in Los Angeles, Gil Garcetti has said that you can go to the beach, but you have to stay only on the wet sand. If you are caught walking on the dry sand or sitting on the dry sand, you will be ticketed. My question to you is, how does one get from their vehicle to the wet sand without crossing the dry sand?
Well, that's a heck of a good question, and I guess I grew up in that area, and so here's how I would do it. I would go someplace that wasn't in L.A. I'd get in a boat. I'd take the boat over, and then I like I was fishing. Then I'd jump out at the fishing line and swim in, and then I'd be able to be on the wet sand. But obviously, nobody's going to do that. It's the most absurd thing in the world. It's like Garcetti's never been on a beach, and you know, absurdity begets absurdity. The L.A. has very, very few cases. The whole reason for flattening the curve in the first place was to make certain that hospital resources weren't overrun. And in fact, what we've done nationally is we've destroyed our private hospital system and shut them down by not allowing for any services other than COVID services. And so we've allowed this Chinese virus to effectively destroy the private healthcare system. And in doing so, they are, what we've got is absurdities like Gil Garcetti, who wants to, has so overcome with control and his capacity to tell people what to do that he is effectively making the city of L.A. an inland city as opposed to a coastal city. He's absurd, and it's and quite honestly, the people need to just tell him to shut up and go do what they want to do.
Rick, let me ask you this. It's been in the news all morning long as one of the headline feature stories. New Jersey gym owner is defying the governor of New Jersey. He's going to open up this morning. He did open up this morning, and it was said that there were SWAT teams standing by, state police units standing by, drones flying overhead, recording his opening the doors. A half mile down the road from this gym is a Walmart that's been open all through this pandemic. You can't blame this owner of the gym saying, I'm going broke. I've got to open my doors, and I hope he stays open. What are your thoughts?
New Jersey is an example of a place that has historically had civil liberties overreach, shall we say. I actually was a lobbyist for National Rifle Association in New Jersey, let's put it this way, a generation ago. And they were notorious for violating civil liberties then in terms of their governor who was anti-gun and would send the cops out after gun owners illegally. They'd confiscate their guns, and then they would not allow those gun owners to get their guns back, even though they were all legally held. So it's not surprising to me to see the New Jersey State Police and whatever local authorities dramatically overreacting to a situation, because it's a state where the police have a history of let's call it overzealous enforcement. And when you have an overzealous governor and an overzealous police force, as you have in New Jersey, at least in the state police, it becomes a nightmare for civil liberties and for individual citizens.
Absolutely.
The fact is, there's absolutely no reason, if you're going to be running hundreds of people through the Walmart, there's absolutely no reason that a local gym shouldn't be able to be open. They can disinfect the machines and be just as effective in terms of protecting people as any Walmart, and for them to not allow the gyms to be open it's discrimination. It's an illegal taking under the Fifth Amendment of people's property.
Let me get into the subject of the virus and the critics. I have absolutely been appalled and, quite frankly, cowboy mad at Barack Obama, that has come out, and he really unloaded on the Trump administration at his commencement addresses that were primarily telling college graduates that officials of the Trump administration are pretending to be in charge. Here is a man that carries still with the Democratic Party and the liberals a lot of weight, and he just is adding more fuel to the fire. What do you think about Obama and his kind of reaching out from the closet door, trying to be very tumultuous and hurting people people in politics?
Well, Barack Obama is under intense pressure right now. The entire Flynn unmasking scandal reaches right to the doorstep of the Oval Office, and it's become very apparent that Barack Obama was running the anti-Trump operation from the Oval Office, including spying on the entire transition. We talked about this before in terms of I was a member of the transition team, and it was you have to be able to discuss different alternatives in terms of policy so you can come up with what you actually want to do. We did that in the transition team. I was on the labor side, but we did that in the transition team, and as a result, but we didn't have any idea that they were actually spying on us when we were doing that. So no, Barack Obama is under his legacy as president is one of corruption, is one of spying on the opposition, is one of what's turning out to be running a domestic spying operation against political opponents, unheard of in American history. And as more and more of that becomes apparent, you've got to expect that the snake is going to lash back out and try to protect itself. And that's what Obama has done through these commencement addresses. And he's attempting to basically go to a gullible, unknowing bunch of new kids coming out of high school and selling them garbage. And
right.
So that's what he's going to do. And it's up to us to keep telling the truth.
In all the stale and stagnant air that comes out of the swamp in Washington, D.C., there is one gentleman that I always delight in hearing and listening to, and that's Louisiana Senator John Kennedy. When he was talking about this idiocy of Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats' $3 trillion bill that they call a relief bill, but basically it's not, he came out and said that trying to look at it from Pelosi's standpoint would be tough because we can't get our heads that far up our butts. What are your thoughts?
Well, when you're a senator, you have a certain leeway in terms of phraseology that I don't have. But let's face it. The bailout for New York State alone that Cuomo wants and that's built into the Pelosi bill would cover the massive sins of overspending and funding health care for illegal aliens and everybody else. Would cover those costs to the tune of about $60 billion, and so the left is trying to take care of their own and their priorities. The Pelosi, is trying to change the election system. She's trying to bail out unions, both public employee and private unions, their pension funds, and she's doing that under the guise of trying to make things well under this whole Chinese virus situation. The honest truth is what Nancy Pelosi wants to do is she wants to create a world where we are all dependent upon Nancy Pelosi for our livelihoods. That's why she's trying to extend things like the unemployment bonus that is making it so people get paid more being on unemployment than they do being employed. So that's the reason she's trying to do those things, because she needs, for the Democrats to win, they need America dependent upon the government. That's the fundamental transformation that Barack Obama talked about, is creating a dependency class that can outvote the people who are paying the bills. That's what she's trying to create. She's trying to create a voting system that is controllable by political machines, and particularly Democrat machines, and private unions and public unions, for that matter, who are able to harvest ballots from people who otherwise are unsuspecting, people like in senior centers and senior homes and the like, who they basically just can vote the entire senior home without the seniors even knowing it. So they're creating a system that's designed to make certain that they are always in power, both through by creating an entitlement class, a dependency class, whichever you want to call it, and on top of that, controlling the ballot box from the time the ballot is sent out to the time it's counted. And if they take control of those two things and accomplish those two things, free markets will be gone, and free choice will be gone, and we will all become dependent upon Gil Garcetti to tell us if we can go to the beach or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And quite honestly, that's not America. We have to fight. We have to win.
Let me ask you this. Well, I want to make a statement first and then tell me if I'm wrong, because maybe I'm looking at it through the wrong eyes. When you talk about Senator Lindsey Graham, over the years, especially through the Mueller report and through the impeachment and everything else, we've heard a lot of bark, but not a lot of bite. We've heard and seen a lot of smoke, but we haven't seen any fire. Lindsey Graham, to me, seems like he's just out there barking in front of the cameras, but he doesn't really follow through and going after people. Am I wrong?
Well, if there's no evidence to show you're wrong, the next hearing he has, which holds anybody accountable, will be the first. The excuse they've used over the last 3 years, 2.5 years, has been that he's got to get judges done, and I've given him great credit for getting a lot of judges done for the president. But in this world, we have to be a walk and chew gum, and Lindsey Graham seems to have plenty of time to get in front of cameras and denounce all these horrible things that are going on. But he doesn't seem to have a lot of time to schedule a hearing and to try to bring people in front of the committee. One of the challenges that the Senate has is in order to subpoena things, they need agreement by the ranking minority. So the minority has to agree with the majority on any subpoenas. So the Senate is really a bad investigatory body because of that, because the minority can block those subpoenas. So he doesn't have subpoena power for any real purposes in the Senate Judiciary Committee, but he certainly has the power to bring people in front of his committee and ask them questions under oath and force them to tell the truth or lie under oath. And the fact we haven't seen anybody in front of his committee doing that is the great shortcoming of Lindsey Graham. He's up for election in South Carolina. He has succeeded in making it so he doesn't have any real opponents in the primary, and so now he's a target because they're raising a lot of money against him to run against him in South Carolina. But there's a lot of bark. There's not a lot of bite. If you were in Texas, you would say it's all hat, no cattle.
Yep.
And if there's a lot of descriptions for it, but it's Washington D.C. It's the way most of them are.
Yeah. I say this with a little sadness in my voice because as we age, a lot of things are taken away from us that we are unwilling to let go of or recognize. And when I say that, I am referring to Joe Biden. Over the last 10 days, I've kept a compilation of various tapes and interviews and attempted to answer questions that were given to him by journalists. And especially last week on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I was absolutely almost cringing when I watched the man try to give answers and try to form a one-sentence answer. He couldn't do it. Joe Biden is their nominee for the Democratic Party for president, and Rick, it goes without saying, this man is totally incapable. When are they going to wave the white flag and try to do something else?
Well, I think I've said on this air last week or maybe 2 weeks ago that I didn't think Joe Biden was going to be their nominee. Here's the key to this. There's a lot of presumption that Andrew Cuomo out of New York will get the nod eventually. They want that to occur as late in the process as possible. There's a simple reason why. Andrew Cuomo's record doesn't stand up to scrutiny. There's a strong belief that a long exposure to the public being exposed to him over a long period of time and figuring out, kind of where he stands and what he's done and his failings, that he would not be a successful candidate if exposed to a long time period of that. However, if they can create a short enough time period where they can kind of rally the wagons and not be exposed to real scrutiny over five months, At that point, he becomes a much more valuable candidate. So the more time that Joe Biden basically burns as their presumptive nominee, the better chance that a guy like Andrew Cuomo can win, because he won't be subject to the kind of scrutiny, and all he'll be getting is the positive flashbulbs of an adoring press that wants to ignore things like the fact that he's basically sentenced the people who lived in the nursing homes in his state to death because of putting COVID patients into those nursing homes, knowing full well that there was no way to isolate the people. And he created an environment where, people like Garcetti say you can't even go on the beach, and yet he was Cuomo exposed people in nursing homes to the virus and deliberately did so. They mandated it based on his administration's mandate. So when people find out, when people start examining Andrew Cuomo in any great degree, he's gonna fall from grace rapidly. But so they need to shorten the time frame in terms of how long he's under scrutiny, and that's what's happening. That's why I believe Biden is allowed to continue to bumble along. They will not. I see no chance. I would be stunned if the Democrats, if in November, Joe Biden is on the ballot for president of the United States.
Mm-hmm. One final thought, and this is in the form also of a question. There has been so much concern and overreach, I think, to tell people to stay home. Don't go to the office. Learn to work from your home. And now with that transition in thought, a lot of people are staying home and looking at converting part of their home into an office as a note of permanency. My question to you is, what about all the high-rise office buildings in New York City and other places? Who's going to pay the bills, and what's going to happen to those things?
Commercial lenders are in deep trouble. That's the natural case here. I read an article today about what's happening in New York City, and it's basically their whole tax base is high-rise offices. And a lot of companies are saying, we've discovered we only need half the office space. And those people who took out loans based upon certain occupancy assumptions are going to find themselves in deep trouble because of that. And the next shoe to drop in terms of a real need to do a bailout will be the commercial lenders who end up getting creamed on this. And I don't know when that shoe is going to drop, but it's inevitable that it will. And that's why they need to Congress needs to hold their fire in terms of passing any kind of next stimulus, because the next stimulus has to be a way to shore up commercial lenders who basically are going to be decimated by the transition in the workforce that they didn't have a chance to actually adjust to. So commercial's overbuilt. And it's going to be way overbuilt, and they're not going to be able to collect rents. And when that happens, loan defaults occur, and somebody ends up holding the bag. And you have your whole commercial lending sector go under, and effectively your system goes under. So we've got that's another crisis that's coming as a direct result of this stupid decision to shut down our economy for 2 months.
Absolutely. Always, this man tells it like it is. President of Americans for Limited Government and a great friend of this program, Rick Manning. God bless you, man. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
All right, thank you. Excellent conversation, and he tells it like it is, Rick Manning. Thank you. And no one knows politics and the scene of politics that's going on right now better than he, Rick Manning. Thank you very much. Want to remind you about our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary. Joel Heward, his family, and staff serving you and your family. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. When there's the passing of a loved one, it's so hard on everybody in the family. And believe me, they are there to help help ease the stress and take care of things for you and your family. Always providing the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Remember the name, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Telephone number 436-5636. I'll repeat it, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Don't forget the primaries tomorrow, and Robert Kunow wants your vote for Cassia County Commissioner, District 2. Here's a man with conservative principles, constructive ideas, proactive leadership, and wants good county government. He believes, and I love this approach, continue to approach the office of Cassia County Commissioner with an open mind and desire to serve the people of Cassia County. He's proud of Cassia County. Cassia County is completely debt-free, and he wants to continue being your Cassia County Commissioner for District 2, Robert Kunow. Vote for him in the primaries, paid for by Robert Kunow. In just a moment, we're going to have my dear buddy, old Frosty Woldridge, on the program. Stand by for that. And I want to remind you, too, about Let's Ride. You know, last weekend, a little windy, as we've become accustomed to the little windy. But it was a great time to get outside and just get away from the maddening crowds, get on a four-wheeler or a side-by-side and go. Oh, you don't have one? Well, then maybe you'd better get over to Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and they're ready to serve you. They got rebates on the side-by-sides and the four-wheelers. They've got all the accessories. Outstanding service department to keep you running. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 2. I mean it. Get over there. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it's true. This is where the fun is sold. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line and head back to Golden, Colorado. And, boy, I really enjoyed reading your latest piece, and it was called Ruminations of a Baby Boomer, Extreme Poverty and Extreme Wealth in America. Frosty Woldridge, good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb, and thank you, and hello to everyone listening to this broadcast across the country. Boy, spring has sprung. We've got hummingbirds. We've got green trees. The little creek running in our backyard is just crystal clear. The elk come by to drink. The deer come by to drink. In fact, this morning, a fox came by, so it was really just a joyful way to start the day. And right outside our back door on the back deck, we've got a sparrow, and she's got little babies coming pretty quickly, and we don't disturb her, and it's just a real thrill to see the blossoming and the renewal of life and springtime here in the Rocky Mountains, and I'm sure the same thing right there in Idaho and the whole northwest of America. So God bless us, one and all.
Absolutely. You know, Frosty, after I read your piece this morning about education, I said to Deanne that education right now, it's very, very clear. You don't have to ask questions about it. Education is the key to surviving in this country and keeping America great. And right now, education is absolutely at the bottom of the barrel with the closures and the potential closures going into fall. Our kids and the structure of great minds for the future is in jeopardy. What are your thoughts?
Well, it certainly is. And one of the things, as a former teacher who started teaching in 1971, and these ruminations that I'm having and writing about that are hopefully very compelling, that make Americans want to stand up and speak out and speak up. To change what's going on in the educational system here in this country. And I've asked at the end of that piece, what would you do? And I know what I would do. First of all, I'd go into the classrooms and I would have, no question, have the cell phones checked at the front door and put in a slot, and no kid can have a cell phone in the school during the school day. I would hope that parents would really monitor their children on these cell phones, because the cell phones are absolutely creating a nightmare of addiction emotionally, technologically, and also feeding their brains all of this unbelievable, inane information, if you will. And for those who don't know this, I did a study on it. The average teenager texts 3,300 times a month.
Wow.
I want you to hear that again. Texts 3,300 times. That's over 100 texts a day. Can you imagine any more wasteful amount of time? And then you wonder why we have such obesity going on. You wonder why these kids are performing poorly in schools. And then you take that down into the inner city, essentially the ghetto, whether it's Chicago or Detroit or Atlanta or Miami or Southern California or Dallas or Denver, Colorado, or even San Francisco, and you see these kids are simply being entertained, if you will, by these computers and these cell phones, and it's really creating a lack of educational interest, of educational curiosity. And so that's one of the first things I would do. And one thing that I would do in the literally the schools and the projects in the inner cities of Chicago is I would separate the sexes. I would have all girls schools and I would have all boys schools, so there wasn't all of the intrigues that are going on because of so much lack of parenting, so much lack of morals, and so much lack of discipline. And anyway, I could go through another 5 or 6 ideas, but you kind of get my drift. Did I kind of make myself clear, Zeb?
Absolutely. But, while you were talking, excuse me, about this, it brought to mind the idiocy and the incompetency of an advertising world on television that goes along with incompetency and a lack of education. And I'm not going to give the name of why the commercial's on the air. I'm just going to relate to you, and I know you've seen this commercial, the incompetency of it, and it makes you wonder, and you look at your spouse and go, what kind of garbage is this? A guy calls another guy on the telephone. He's laying on the couch watching a football game, and he goes, what's up? And then another guy picks up the phone, and they go, what's up? What's up? What's up? In the slang English variety of what they use today, and that's the whole commercial. And that shows the stupidity of what's going on in our country.
It's an extraordinarily excellent illustration of the lack of education in this country, and the fact that what's happening is that you get enough people that simply have no educational curiosity, and that they're sitting here with the education or the intelligence of a third or fourth grader. These are not people that are going to contribute to the American way of life. They're not going to be able to work. And as I said in my article, what we're facing right now is that there are about 45 million Americans who are living, 45 million Americans who cannot read. They're called functionally illiterate.
Right.
And that means they can't read, they can't write, they can't do simple math. And the tragedy of that is they can't work. And so guess what? During Barack Obama, his reign at the White House there, they added another 13 million food stamp people to be as high as 48 million. I think it's now down to around 40 million people on food stamps. These are people that essentially are illiterate, didn't graduate from high school, didn't move toward educational curiosity or discipline and or move toward learning a skill. They can't even be educated in vocational technical schools. And so then you have that kind of a consequence. And of course, I absolutely kind of zoned in on the minorities there in Chicago or any other big system of schools, because 7 out of 10 African American children are born into this world with a single mother, out of wedlock, and on welfare. And that becomes cyclical. And as I stated in my article, the worst thing we ever did was LBJ. You all know him as Lyndon Baines Johnson, the president there in the 60s after JFK died. He created the Great Society. And he didn't create it for any reason that was noble. He created it, and I remember him saying those, and he used the N-word, will be voting for Democrats for the next 200 years. But what that did was create a welfare state where people have no sense of contributing, only taking. And that's what welfare is. Section 8 housing is welfare. And you don't earn it, you just simply breathing and poor enough, you get to obtain it. You get free lunches and free breakfast. That means parents who have kids without any responsibility for paying for them are having as many as they want and don't need, and yet you and I are paying for them. And so what I say in the article is at some point, we will, if we have more of them than we have of us, we will start collapsing the welfare systems across this country. And, of course, we all know the welfare systems are paying for millions of illegal alien children that are getting free K through 12, and we're paying for it. Their parents aren't paying for it, and we're paying for their lunches and their breakfasts, and we're also paying for the ESL courses, English as a second language. And these people are turning out with no sense of educational excellence whatsoever, and there's only so many taxi drivers and so many janitors that can be hired in this country, and so you're seeing this massive class of poverty and complete lack of contribution into this country to make America viable. I mean, how far off am I on this thing?
You're not. I mean, that's why I have you on this program, is you tell it like it is, and you tell it honestly. Just this morning on the CBS News, an hour ago on our station, they were talking about undocumented people in the United States, let's call it what they are, illegal aliens, are now able to qualify for our tax dollars in California. For 18 and over, you can get $500 a month if you are single, or $1,000 a month if you have a family. And my mind is blowing over this. This is our tax dollars and generated by citizens giving to illegal aliens that shouldn't be here. What in the world are we doing?
That's the great question and the great curiosity, because as I put in my article, and this is an extensive article, folks, just go to newswithviews.com, and I guarantee you'll get a dose of what's really going on here in America. The one thing that happened to me as a teacher is that my summer job was a United Van Lines truck driver. I drove that 48-foot rig. I ran a conventional with twin sleeper in it, international actually, and I'm loading that truck with 18, 20,000 pounds of furniture, moving people all over the country, 48 states and Canada. And I did that from 1977 right through until 2005. I got to visit the ghettos of Detroit and New York City and Chicago and Atlanta and Miami. And I'll never forget one day in Detroit, I remember back, and I think it was like 1985 or 1990, Detroit schools had a 78% dropout flunk-out rate, as reported by Peter Jennings, I think, at the time. Think about that. 78 kids out of 100 dropped out or flunked out of schools. Well, that was going on in Cleveland. It was going on in New York. It was going on in Miami. And I'll never forget, because of the Great Society by LBJ, I had just worked a 16-hour day, and I was loading up at the Kroger's to head south. I had a load going to Miami. And I'll never forget, Detroit Free Press headline I read after I'd worked that 16-hour day, welfare queen has her 24th child. I mean, she was making money having children because she was getting the WIC or the ADC, Aid to Dependent Children. And so she was making money, $1,600 a month per child. So think of 24 kids times $1,600 a month. She was driving a Cadillac. She was doing nothing for it. And that's what we've been paying out. And then you think somebody like Maxine Waters, who is essentially the welfare queen of California in the House of Representatives, has been there for 40 years. She's a millionaire. And she, in her district, along with Nancy Pelosi, those two have over 70,000 homeless in San Francisco and 62,000, actually, right there in Waters and Pelosi's districts in Los Angeles. And what are they doing? They're giving our money to illegal aliens who have no business being here and should be deported. That is enough to make anybody just... those are my tax dollars, and I work my tail feathers off. And so do you. And you and I both know what that means, and every person listening to this broadcast. It's absolutely unfair. It's against the law, And yet our own elected representatives, like a Pelosi or like a Ilhan Omar or Rashid Tlaib, you name it, we can go right on down the line, they're giving our money away, hard-earned money. And I know what hard-earned money is when I'm working as a truck driver moving furniture, I can tell you. And I can tell you as a teacher, teaching is a tough job. And yet we're the ones paying our money to have all these welfare people and illegal aliens, undocumented, whatever you want to call them. They're continuing to sap this country dry, and it is absolutely maddening to have this happen to us.
You, in your piece this morning that I was reading, had a sentence that was towards the very end, one of the last paragraphs, and I'm going to shorten the sentence up because it made so much sense to me this morning that everybody should consider. You asked the question, how would you bring some kind of balance to the economics of America? I'm going to stop it right there. How? I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel right now, the way politicians on both sides of the aisle are doing this thing. And with another $3 trillion relief bill, which is nothing more than the Democrats' wish list to help further illegal aliens coming into this country and voting for them, man, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I think your question is well balanced. How would you bring some kind of balance to the economics of America? How would you answer that?
Well, one of the things I would do, and it's called Steady State Economics by Brian Check, Dr. Brian Check. And for those of you who want to read his book, it's called Throwing Coal into a Runaway Train. First of all, we are overloading our systems. And anybody knows if you redline your car, what's going to happen? If you run that car, you redline it, you rev it up to so high into the red area, it'll blow. Every race car driver knows it. It will blow. Anyone who has ever redlined a car for too many miles, that engine will blow. Well, right now, just this month, the U.S. Congress is importing 100,000 immigrants into our country. There's no way to sustain them. There's no way to keep this thing going. There's no way to work them. There's no way that they have the ability to even take jobs in this country, in a first world country, after they come out of, say, India, or they come out of Mexico, or they come out of Africa. They just don't. But then we're overloading the welfare systems to such a degree that we're redlining our welfare systems. And so my whole thrust is we need to shut down all immigration in the United States for 20 years. Get our house in order. And then as far as steady state economics, you need to have jobs that fit the intellectual and or educational horsepower of the people in this country. So those who are essentially uneducated, we need to put them to work. Workfare for welfare. Again, you've got to work for your welfare. We need to have systems brought up to get these people to have a meaningful day of 8 hours of doing something and contributing to their city. Baltimore, Maryland. I've trucked through Baltimore, Maryland, and Chicago, Southside Chicago. I've trucked through all these major cities. They are literally, they look like the slums of India. They're that bad, and everybody's on welfare, sitting on their front porch doing nothing. So we need to have accountability. We need to have workfare for welfare, and we need to have these new jobs that are out there that actually put people to work, whether they can read or not read, put them into redundant jobs. We've got to create redundant jobs. Essentially, Zeb, and everyone listening to this broadcast, we need to have our finest educators to get off their butts, quit complaining, quit doing nothing, and start creating programs that actually put Americans of all classes, of all educational realms, into the workforce to contribute to our society. Because that is the only way that we're going to solve this thing. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I've said on this program, and I don't know if I've mentioned it to you or not, but I said, somebody called me on the program one day and said, oh, well, Zeb, your idea of going case by case and discerning who is qualifying for welfare is much too expensive and time exasperating. And I said, it's worth the time and it's worth the money, because in the long run, we've got to weed out the chaff, and those that need help get help. Those that are leeches, they need to get to work.
That's exactly right. And I can almost say this without a doubt, that out of 40 million people who are living on food stamps right now, well over half of them and get off their butts and go get a job.
That's right.
I mean, like, I'm 73 years old, and I put out a little advertisement in my area here that I will paint a house. And I've already got 4 paint jobs because I can't travel this summer, it looks like. And so I'm going to try to travel in the late summer. But I'm going to paint houses. I'm 73 years old. Should I be up there painting a house? Well, guess what? I'm an old farm boy from Michigan. And if you got a job to do, if you need to earn money, you need to keep yourself fed and keep the mortgage paid, you go get a job.
There you go.
And just be creative about it. You can paint fences. You can sweep walks. You can clean the garden. I mean, there's so many jobs out there. If you have the interest and you have the motivation and you have the determination and the discipline, you can go get a job. If I can do this at 73, go paint houses, which I've got one coming up here in the next week, then anybody can do it.
Absolutely. Real quick, we're going to take a call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I was watching an old Western, Roy Calhoun Western the other day. It's called Ride Out for Revenge. And I'd like to play and see if you can hear the last minute or so of this movie. He is talking to an Indian girl. Oh, excuse me, a Native American. Anyhow, he's talking to this Indian girl, and they're watching the Indians being marched off to a reservation. Now, listen to what they say back then. And this is like 1950. Let me look. I think it's 1957 movie.
Okay, real quick.
Listen to this.
Well, it's not coming through. It's not coming through. I'm sorry. Just give us the gist of what they say because it didn't come over the telephone to the radio, so I apologize. Well, I urge people not to do this on the air because the schematic of having it go through the phone line being held up, it's not going to work. Caller, are you there? Evidently not. Wheels, if you would terminate that call, tell the gentleman we couldn't hear it, I'd appreciate it. But really, the past of what happened to other people and other locations is happening to America. We're being treated like a band of sheep. Unfortunately, we're being pushed over a cliff. Frosty, would you agree with that?
There's no question. If we continue to absorb 100,000 immigrants, these are the legal ones, not even counting the illegal ones. If we continue to take in over 300, well, last year 372,000 anchor babies each year, this is costing us trillions of dollars. It's not doing our society any good, and it's literally putting indigent people into the poverty and the slums. For those of you who have gone to India like I have, or you've gone to Bangladesh like I have, and seen unbelievable poverty, it simply becomes, at some point, you're unable to cure it, you're unable to solve it, you're unable to change it. It simply becomes what the society is. And that's what's happening to America right now. And again, as I've said in the past, what is the one equation, the one word that gives poverty and slums all over the world? The countries that are filled with slums, filled with poverty, filled with misery. It's called the Human Misery Index, and that is illiteracy.
That's right.
And if we keep going down this trail, this path, this course, our country is going to have unbelievable pockets of illiteracy and hopelessness and poverty and slums, much like Detroit, much like Chicago, much like Baltimore, Maryland, just like down in Miami right now, and I can just go right on down the line. And you all know that you've heard me driving a truck every summer for 30 summers around America, seeing America degrade. I got to see America degrade because, the Immigration Reform Act of 1965 really started in 1970. That's why we dumped 100 million people from all over the world into this country, and so many of them, the majority of them, are just poverty-stricken, and they're still poverty-stricken, and we're paying for it. And guess what? We're about to dump another 100 million into this country within the next 30 years.
Yep.
We don't have the resources, we don't have the water, we don't have the energy, we don't have the quality of life, we can't even educate them. Again, as I've said, we got 173 different languages here in Denver Public Schools. Does anybody out there that's an educator right now, or any parent, think that your children can get educated in the class classroom with 173 different languages. And, of course, I know you're all sitting there going, no chance.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly right. That's why we need a national moratorium, a national shutdown for 20 years or more of all immigration into our country, help those people in their own countries, help them thrive in their own countries, because we will not thrive in our country if we continue down this path.
Got to run. Thank you. God bless you, my dear, dear friend back in Golden, Colorado. Frosty Woldridge, take care, my friend. See you next Monday. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Zeb. Godspeed.
All right, sir. To the caller that called in, I hope he's listening, a very nice man. I'm sorry, but when you take a phone and hold it up to a tape recorder and it's not balanced at all on the sound, the imperfections, we couldn't hear it, and so I apologize to you. I know you meant well, and I certainly wished we could have got that on the air, but it just doesn't work that way, unfortunately, and I apologize. Time for the weather, and please don't hesitate calling back. I'd like to know the gist of what was said. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company are sponsoring our weather, providing the accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for well over 50 years. They are the professionals when it comes to tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. I urge you to work with the professionals helping you, your family, and your business. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Mostly cloudy and windy. Here's a look at your weather forecast for today. Clouds are going to be sticking around. Maybe some rain showers, maybe some thunder bumpers by this afternoon. High of 77. Wind is going to be a factor. Gusts as high as 30-plus miles an hour. Tonight, that is going to continue, gradually tapering off. We are expecting a low of 43. Tomorrow, a slight chance of rain showers and possibly some thunderstorms by the afternoon. We will see a little bit of sunshine. Still going to be breezy and a high of about 64 by tomorrow night. 50% chance of rain showers with a low of 43. Then by Wednesday, guess what? More rain. High of 56. That's what's your weather for Zebit Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Brought to everyone this morning by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And we're going to be talking to Lyden Crane at 10:06 this morning. Don't miss that. Very interesting. Offices in Burley and Rupert, the professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Call her real fast. 30 seconds. You're on the air.
Okay, Zeb, don't these politicians realize that when this country goes down, they're going to go down with us, with the rest of us?
No, I don't think they do. I think they've got this pie-in-the-sky attitude that they're going to be kind of embraced by a central society on the Potomac that's going to take in all their food, all their clothing, all their rent, all their housing. I honestly think they've so far from reality, they think they're going to live on an island all unto themselves. That's the idiocy of who these people are.
Who do we vote for?
Boy, I'll tell you what. That's the $64,000 question. Tony, I got to run. I'm late going to the news. God bless you, man. Call back, please. Appreciate it. Thank you. Don't forget quickly our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance on Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. For you, your family, and your business, they're dedicated and very responsive to your needs and really accessible. All you need to do is give them a call. Set up an appointment, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Whoa, we got to run to the news. I'll be back in 7. Oh, thank you very much, and welcome back to hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch on this Monday, May 18th already. Good morning to you. And, of course, thanks to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations open and serving you with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, our friends at Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. I have said it for a long time, pardon me for the hoarse throat this morning. I've said it for a long time. They have a beautiful, beautiful 12-bedroom home for seniors. This is quite a place, and it's exactly 1 mile east of Walmart on 21st Street. Very handy, and they provide 3 meals a day, snacks, housekeeping, local transportation. It's really a valuable asset to the community, a place for you and your friends. Please call Matt or Kelly and find out more about it at 650-4979. Set up an appointment and see the facilities at Greystone Crossing. Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, can we please have the good word for the May 19th primaries?
Idaho's primary election is on Tuesday, May 19th. Here's Senator Kelly Anthon to explain this year's voting by mail.
The outcome of every election we have is determined by who shows up to vote. This year, Idaho's primary election is a mail-in only election. It's not ideal, and it's not the way we'd like to do it. But your vote does make a difference for all of us in Idaho. So please, first request a ballot, then mail it in, and make your voice heard. This message is paid for by the Anthem for Idaho Senate campaign.
And by the way, God's blessings to Kelly. I hope he's back and physically fit in no time. He's been in the hospital, and we wish him the very, very best. Want to remind you, too, about 7K Metals. Help yourself build your financial security and future through silver purchases from 7K Metals. I can tell you personally, it's a great saving opportunity for you and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. And the silver purchases come right to your home. How do you go about finding out more? I urge you to call Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259. Tell them I told you to call, and they will help you with silver purchases from 7K Metals. Do it today. You'll be glad you did. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I am very, very honored this morning to have Lyden Crane with Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company on the air, a very, very good spokesman for what's happening in the accounting world and to help you, your family, and your business. Good morning, Lyden. How are you?
Sir, to be honest, he hadn't called in, and so I've had to call him, so I'm waiting to see if he's available.
Well, he should be available and should be calling in. The number 878-7000. Try that quickly, if you would, please. Thank you. While we're waiting for Lyden to call in, I will also tell you about our friends at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Don't forget Curtis and Lorena, and they've got all the electronics right there for you, whether it's the home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, everything. And they've got, for your relaxation in the evening after a hard day's work, the best of television sets, Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. And don't forget, they're going to have that special charity giveaway again this year. You can vote for your favorite charity, and the top two will receive $500 each. So stop in at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. And the telephone number to call, 678-6997, Patterson's Electronics. I believe that Lyden Crane is on the phone right now. You scared me, Lyden. I thought you left.
Sorry, Zeb. We had a little problem arise here. I wasn't able to get to the phone as quickly as I had hoped, but I think we got it resolved, and we're ready to go.
You are not the only person that has that little problem creep up every now and then. It's good to have you on the program this morning. Tell us a little bit about your busy season was elongated this year, and you didn't have the finals on tax day, April 15th. What do people need to know real quick before we go into some of the other aspects we wanted to talk about this morning? When's the new filing date?
The new federal filing day is July 15th, and Idaho's filing deadline is June 15th. So from a technical standpoint, I guess you would say June 15th really is the day, because in order to file your Idaho one, you've got to be able to include your federal. You still can apply for an extension for both of those dates, though, and move it back to October 15th if you so choose.
Lyden, why the split date? That, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, the IRS came out with theirs first, and then they left the states kind of grappling with, well, what do we do? And Idaho's fiscal year end is June 30th, and so the legislature didn't feel that they could budget very well without trying to get the majority of returns filed by that date. So it's something to try to help Congress out, the Idaho Congress, with just their processes for keeping the state with a balanced budget and so forth.
Now, does this also alter the extension time on your taxes, or does that remain the same?
As far as I know, at this point, they're expecting that to be the same. So if you do get an extension, that will be, for any businesses, it's through September 15th, and then, any either corporations or partnerships that have to file separate returns, those will be September 15th. And for individuals, even those with businesses, they'll have until October 15th.
What's it been like this year, again, with all the turmoil, tumultuous activities going on because of the coronavirus shutdowns and everything? I can't even imagine what it's been like in your office.
Lots of phone calls. Just nervousness is the best way I can describe it. We're kind of treading. We, as accountants, we're not very creative folks, and so we get very used to routine and habit, and some of our habits have been tossed out the window this year. And so we're trying to manage it the best that we can. We're trying to help people with some of these programs, which I know we're going to talk about here in a minute. But now I've got to kind of put my nose back to the grindstone and just get back to the business of actually doing taxes and getting people done so we can meet those deadlines in June.
Okay, the small business owner has been absolutely backed up against the wall and painted into a corner and almost broke, many of which have left their businesses. Is there help on the horizon? Are there plans that are viable? Are there plans that are going to help them? What's the status?
Yes, so as we discussed the last time I came on, the payroll protection program really did leave a number of small businesses in the lurch. There was no way to apply for it if you didn't have employees and or a profit. And many small companies, they try very hard not to report a profit each year to keep the taxes low, that helping the economy with buying equipment and other expenditures that they do. And so, there wasn't much of a way to actually get some help from the federal programs. Idaho, about 2 weeks ago, released a program that was called the Idaho Rebound Grants, and it was administered through the Idaho State Tax Commission by a committee that was put together by the governor called the Coronavirus Financial Advisory Committee. And I was hopeful at first that was also going to be, that would give some new resources to self-employed individuals who were not able to participate in the other programs. And when we first listened to their phone calls and the notes and were reading through their material, it shocked me, but they did not include any method to help those people. They were still trying to base it all off of payroll. And again, there's a lot of people that they don't have employees. They just work on their own. Mm-hmm. And when we asked about that, we were told, well, they should be able to go file for unemployment. The CARES Act provided unemployment for self-employed individuals. And my office communicated directly with a gentleman named Alex Adams, and he's the administrator for the Division of Financial Management up at the state. And I said, look, Alex, we can't do this because a lot of my people can't quit. You can't, in order to qualify for the unemployment, you have to be out of work. And when you think about the farming and ranching and, certain businesses around the area, animals still have to be fed, crops still have to be watered, contracts have to be met. If they close, the unemployment's a very short-term fix because they won't have a business to go back to. We got to help them. We got to find a way. And so for the last 2 weeks, we've been working with him in my office and through our local representatives, Senator Anthon and Speaker Bedke to try to kind of rectify that and put a program together. And last Friday, this committee put out sort of some notes on how they were going to make this available to self-employed individuals. So there is hope. We're still kind of working through the details on that, but I believe there will be at least a small amount of help on the way to try to get through the next couple months.
You know, Leiden, and I'm not trying to beleaguer the fact, but it would seem to me that if a committee's going to get together and discuss this, and they're going to try to figure out how to help employees, that's fine. But then what about helping the employer or the sole proprietor, such as I am? I mean, it's almost ludicrous for someone to suggest that a person should basically close the doors on his business and go file unemployment and just let the business die on the vine. Surely there must be somebody on that board that could have raised their hand and said, I don't think so. How come it went this long without somebody saying something? And God bless you for saying it.
Well, you know, when we started discussing that, it was 2 weeks ago. They had just received this money. I think that they were looking for a quick and easy way to get money down, and in their minds it was the people, you know, there's a lot of people who haven't gotten the help that they need, and they were thinking of it, you know, employees. And when you look down the list of the folks who are on this board, I think most of them have not been in the position where they've been self-employed without some other form of you know, economic support for them and their families. So it's kind of a lack of experience, and I think that as the financial advisors in our communities, that's kind of our job as good citizens to be interacting with these people. And I mean, thank goodness we actually have representatives and people like Mr. Adams who will listen to us. I mean, he's been wonderful to work with. We just had to raise the issue.
Right.
And same with Speaker Bedke and Mr. Anthon. They've both taken phone calls from me. They both listened to me, and you know, they're busy right now too, trying to keep the state running and all the issues they have to deal with. But you know, we're blessed in this area for everybody's got faults, and we never totally agree one with another. But at least that they've listened and tried to work through this.
Absolutely.
And so it is something we're, you know, and it won't fix everything what they're doing, but at least there will be a small lifeline to help keep people going for the next few months.
You know, I have said this on my program numerous times, and I haven't had anybody really arbitrate with me, but when you start talking about Speaker Scott Bedke and Senator Kelly Anthon and Representative Fred Wood, we're talking about people that at the dial of a phone, they are there, and they have helped to get answers. And such was the case in the last couple of weeks with Speaker Bedke and Kelly, etc., on this issue. They really were Johnny on the spot.
Yes, they were, and they were listening. And again, I think that we're lucky if you were to go look at other states. I mean, even just some of our neighbors, some of the things I'm hearing out of the state of Washington right now, it makes my blood run cold. I mean, it's what they're doing over there. I don't know how you could have a business, let alone be a sovereign citizen with. It's scary.
What are you talking about? What are you referring when you say that? Tell the audience.
Well, and I haven't researched this as much, so I'm not a very good authoritative reference on this, but the governor last week had several press conferences, and they're out on YouTube. You ought to go listen to him, the governor of Washington, and I can't even remember his name.
Governor Inslee.
But with the CARES, some of the money the money that's coming to the state, that with the program we've been talking about, there was a lot more of it, and they have the ability to use it for different things. And one of the things that they can do, the one that scares me the most, they have a program for what they call coronavirus tracing.
Oh, boy.
What they're trying to do is authorize the states to create a law enforcement branch which basically tracks people who have the virus and set up different mechanisms to alert people through their phones or through other media that you might be standing next to somebody who has either had the virus or has it. And then if the people who actually get the virus, they're setting up places where they have to or are forced to quarantine. And they were talking about doing certain things with children, like removing them from parents, and there's just all kinds of problems with what they're trying to do, and nobody seems to be questioning in those places the governor's authority to do that.
Right.
And luckily in Idaho, we are questioning that, that we're Mr. Little, whether you agree with him or not. I mean, we're trying to have a checks and balances with our representatives to make sure what he's doing is legal and within the bounds of his authority. And so Idaho receives some of that same money, Zeb. We have the money to create those programs. And so, again, I think we got to be on the phone and be talking to our reps saying, hey, if you're going to use that money, you better double-check what you're doing and make sure that we're not trying to create a program which is going to inflict upon the civil liberties of our citizens in our state.
Absolutely. I totally agree with what you're saying, and I have said for many, many times on this program that the Governor Jay Inslee is a very leftist liberal that wants more control and power over people. He's not the only one, of course. The whole coast is like that. Governor of Oregon, and then you're looking at Newsom in California, etc. But economically, from your standpoint, and you work with numbers and figures and people's accounts every day, can we as a society get over the hump with this coronavirus if we'll just start back to work? Or with the left wanting a complete shutdown and maintain a shutdown, are we going to go broke?
I think that's still to be seen. It's a really mixed bag right now. There's some who are doing just fine, some that are even doing better because their services are needed while folks can't go do other things. And then there's a lot of people who are really hurting. If we can get things back and opened up, I think there's going to be a time where we're not going to be as well off as we were before, but at least we can start working toward overcoming it. There'll be enough positive drive there for folks to want to continue on.
Let me ask you,
if the shutdowns continue and go for another 6 months to a year.
Oh boy.
Well, I mean, I think saying that we'll be in trouble is an assumed point at that point, because you can't close businesses for that long and maintain people's enthusiasm for going to work.
No, that's for sure. Let me ask you this question when it comes to the TAP program and others. Please, let's end this program conversation by telling people that are small business owners, maybe self-proprietors, sole proprietors, what should they be doing and who do they need to contact and what do they need to talk about? Quickly.
Yes, so in order to be eligible for the Idaho grants, you have to have an Idaho Taxpayer Access Portal, and it's called the TAP program. And so that can be applied for with the Idaho State Tax Commission. It's a fairly easy form to complete. Most people use it who have employees, but you can use it as an individual. So if you need help with that, I would contact either your accountant or your financial advisor. You can find that at the Idaho State Tax Commission website, or there's a link to it on the Idaho Rebounds webpage. And you'll need to get that filled out quickly, because the only way to complete the application is to receive a PIN in the mail, and that typically takes about 3 to 5 days to get to your home. So, and these grants for self-employed individuals, I think they said it's supposed to start opening up on like the 27th of this month.
Okay, what about
Go get that done, and so you're ready to go.
All right, quickly, Lydon, what about those that may have applied, they got the letter back stating that they were known about their interest in the TAP program? What do they do after they receive the letter?
You have to go back onto the website and use the PIN number that they have given you to complete the process, and at that point the account should be open.
Okay.
I haven't. My staff have been handling that for me, so unfortunately I haven't been doing it here the last week or so. But Again, contact your financial advisor or somebody who handles payroll on a regular basis. They're very familiar with those. They can walk you through it. It should only take a couple of minutes, and you'll be up and running.
Okay. Leiden Crane, of course, with Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, the professionals in accounting services in Burley and Rupert, and a very close friend of mine. Leiden, God bless you for your information this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll talk to you later.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. A great young man, really devoted and understanding what's going on with accounting, your business, your family, etc., and I really appreciate him being on the air this morning. Want to remind you, too, about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. Oh, my goodness, they're having a great big, I mean really huge, pre-Memorial Day sale. Oh, they've got living room, sofa love sets that were $12.28, now just $5.99. Are you kidding me? And they've got spring flooring specials. You got to check that out. And, of course, don't forget they've got all kinds of carpet, the best selection of carpet you've ever seen. I mean, now is the time during this pre-Memorial Day sale to get in there and really beautify and comfortize your home. Oh, please, don't put it off. Where are they located? Thought you'd never ask. 459 Overland in Burley, and they're back on their regular hours for business, so they're there to serve you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. Big pre-Memorial Day sale going on. You stop in and see Jeff and the crew today. Want to remind you quickly before I send it back over to our main studios that there is a business for sale over in Heyburn, and it's a turnkey situation. All you need to do is call Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street in Heyburn. Yep, turnkey operation. We talked to Doug about this morning earlier. Great business opportunity. Number to call, get more info, 878-4991. That number again, 878-4991. Or after hours, 431-5282. I'll tell you, Doug will train the new buyer of the business, and the business rebuilds starters, alternators, generators, and other DC motors. You better check it out today. Great opportunity. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair, 635 21st Street in Heyburn. It's for sale, and it's for you. Give them a call today. We're going to take a little break here and send it back over to Wheels, and then we're going to come back with the lovely Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden, and following that, then we'll have Dog Days from the Minidoka County Animal Shelter with Deb Hines. Don't go away. Wheels, it's all yours.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you on an overcast Monday, but I know the sun is shining, and this bright face and happy voice, and next on my program is going to absolutely brighten your day. Here she is, Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. I don't know how bright I am. It's been a long week. But
oh, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but you know what? You add so much to the program because when it comes to gardening, when it comes to plants, when it comes to all the exterior design and lawns, you know what you're talking about.
Well, I should have. I've been at this long enough. I should have got it by osmosis, if nothing else. So.
Hey, you know what we didn't do on this program? At least I don't remember doing it. I had an email that came in last Thursday or Friday from a very, very nice lady. And she said, I love listening to you and Vicky talk about gardening and growing and what to do, water, fertilizer, everything. I'm kind of paraphrasing everything real quick. But she said the one thing that you've never, as far as she said she knew, we've never talked about is the actual planning, the designing, and what goes where in a garden. And I thought that's a pretty good question.
Well, it is, and that's a real key thing in having a successful garden, because certain things need a lot of water, certain things don't need a lot of water, certain plants take up a lot of space, and so you kind of have to design your garden out, like if you're putting squash and pumpkins and that type of thing. Those get very viney, very big leaves. those need to go in a corner or at the end of your garden to where they can just be themselves and grow. You don't want them next to any other plants because they will come over the top of them and they will suffocate them and kill your other, they just literally choke out the light. They have to have an area where they can really grow and run. So you want those at the end or off to the side or in their own area to where they can be themselves.
Okay. Now, I would imagine, I'm saying this as a non-gardener. I'm not that good, not that smart about gardening at all. But I would imagine you don't want your corn or anything that's going to have a lot of vines like pumpkins, which really was a mess here about 6 years ago. I would imagine you wouldn't want that, so it's going to overrun or overshadow the other plants.
Exactly. That's what I say. Those and cucumbers are another one that does. They need a lot of space too. So if you're going to put cucumbers in a row, space that row out to where you can get the water to it, but they've got a place to go that they're not in amongst all your other plants like your beans and things like that, because they will cause a problem. So you want to make that row possibly 5 to 6 foot wide so that they've got room to run and do their thing, and then plant your beans are going to take a lot of water. Your cucumbers are going to take a fair amount of water. Radishes and your lettuces and that are shallow plants. They're going to have to be watered real often. And so those are little things that need to be planted in an area by themselves, kind of in a row by themselves, or in an area where you can get the water to them as they need it. Mm-hmm. Potatoes, you don't want to put those in where you're going to be watering heavy. The spuds don't need to be watered that much. So there again, you want those in a row or in an area of the garden where you can kind of control the water. Deep watering about once a week is great on spuds, and then leave them alone.
Okay.
And let them dry out a little bit.
Okay.
Corn's going to need, when it starts to grow, it's going to need a lot of water. And so you're going to need to have it in a spot where it can take some, it's going to be able to take the water. But what a lot of people do is they forget about pumpkins and squash taking over so much room. They put them in the middle of their garden, and pretty soon they've choked out everything around them. So just kind of be aware of the things that take a lot of room. Give them room to do their thing. The stuff that doesn't need watered as much, kind of keep that off to its side, and then kind of design your garden out that way.
Okay, we have a caller with a question. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your patience. You're on the air.
When I was over to your place Saturday, when I left, there was 25 cars parked there. So you got a real good business going there. But the problem I have is I can't find my chicken soup, and you said you would not give me a refund.
Oh.
Are you still there?
Vicki, are you there?
Yeah, I'm not hearing what he's saying.
He said something. Wheels, I don't know why they're not on the trifold of this call, but Keith, repeat that real fast and make sure that she can hear, Wheels.
Well, I told her that I couldn't find my chicken soup that I bought last year, and she won't give me a refund. And she told me, so sad.
You're going to have to just look a little deeper in them cupboards. I'm sure you'll find it.
All right. Thank you, caller.
I hope so, because you are the best, Vicki.
Thank you.
And you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One of the questions I've had, and I don't know if it was facetious or not, because as I said earlier, I'm not much of a gardener, but one lady had sent me an email and she said, should I arrange my garden so that it gets the morning sun or the late afternoon sun?
I would make sure the morning sun is a good sun. It's not as intense on plants, and it gives them the sunlight they need. And shading up out of the afternoon, that hot sun kind of helps with watering also. So if it was me, I would make sure that they got that good half to three-quarter day sun and then shade up in that hot afternoon sun.
Ah, so it wasn't facetious after all, see? Okay, Zeb, I learned something there. Now, another caller had written in this week and said, is it too late to plant trees? And what are the best trees to plant for shade, but yet get fast growth?
it's not too late to plant trees. You're fine getting any trees and shrubs and like that in right now. It's a good time. And the types that are good for this area for fast growth end up kind of being some of your more ornamental types that don't get great big. You have to be careful when you're doing trees. If you're in a subdivision, there's sometimes limits on what you can put in. Sometimes you've got power lines that you have to watch out for, but your ornamental trees give you a nice medium shade tree, like your flowering cherry, your flowering pear, some of those type, the flowering crab. A lot of people don't want the flowering crab because they used to always have the big apples, but they've got them now to where they're very pretty trees, very good trees, healthy, hardy, and little tiny apples that stay on the tree. They become very ornamental with their little seed, just like a cherry pit size is about the size the apples are.
Vicki, what about the watering?
Trees that you can use for shade like that.
Okay.
And then there are some of the smaller. We just got in some maples that are not too great big that'll work. And some of your honey locusts are a good one to put in also. They're not too awfully big.
Okay. What about the watering? Is there any precautions on watering a newly planted tree?
Well, a lot of people think that they can put them in and their sprinklers on their lawn is going to take care of it. And I don't agree with that because lawn grass, their roots are only down about 3 inches, and somehow a tree manages to get down a lot further than that and have a lot bigger root system. I like to see trees deep watered at least twice a week, and then let the sprinklers pick up the balance of it, depending on your soil, of course. If it's sandy soil, you need to deep water at least twice a week, and then let the sprinklers pick it up. If it's heavy soil, sometimes once a week on a deep watering on a tree. And when I say deep watering, I mean lay a hose in there or put water in there to where it soaks in there and it soaks way down. It doesn't it's not a 5-minute water.
Last question, short answer, but we had an email from a person that said you keep talking about annuals and perennials. Please explain.
Okay, annuals are the plants that you plant every year. You plant them every year. Every spring, every summer, and they die out in the winter. They're the ones like your petunias, some of your pansies, geraniums, begonias, marigolds. Those are all called annuals because they bloom just the one time in the year. Perennials are the ones that you plant that will come back year after year.
Okay. Now, it's time, with that little extra music that was thrown in, it's time for the Vicky's Gardening Tip of the Week.
Okay, my big worry right now is I've got people coming in and they're losing the cucumbers that they're planting or the ones that are coming up in their garden. Most of the ones they're losing are the ones that they're buying and planting as plants. Do not overwater those because it's cool nights right now. You get cucumbers at that early stage and you keep them too wet, they will damp off at the ground, which they literally die right at the ground. They rot right there. Grow them a little on the dry side. It is not going to hurt them. You get a lot better, healthy plant. But don't water them, don't drown them every day just because you think they're little and they need it.
Absolutely.
Check your soil, and only water them as they need it. But be very careful on keeping them too wet because the cool nights, that's the one thing they don't like is being cold and wet. They'll damp off and die.
And you got to have cucumbers if you're going to have one of my famous Ozarky sandwiches.
This is very true. Cucumbers are a must.
Absolutely. Now, what about any specials real quick going on over at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul? What's cooking over there right now?
Well, we're kind of running out of product right now. People have hit us pretty hard, but we do still have tomatoes. We have peppers. We have a lot of vegetables we're planting on a daily basis on our veggies, cucumber, squashes, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if there's something that that you're needing, we've got lots of supply. Still got lots of seed. It's not too late to plant a garden. Perfect time.
Okay. And
everything in and going.
All right. What are the hours that you turn the key in the lock?
We open on Monday through Friday. We are 9 to 5:30. Saturday we are 10 to 5. And on Sunday, we are open from 11 to 3.
Okay. This is a wonderful lady, and I call her a good friend. Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, 438-5663, and we will talk to the lovely Miss Vicky next Monday. Have a great week.
Have a good week, Zeb. Thanks.
Thank you.
Be safe.
All right. Take care. Be safe. Be well. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Time for our weather, and the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and the crew at 324-7657. You can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, and check out all the delicious meats. Pork ribs, the marinated pork ribs, the tri-tips, all the different kinds of bacons and sausages, and the bratwurst. Love the bratwurst. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. They bring you the weather, and here's Gina.
Mostly cloudy and windy. Here's a look at your weather forecast for today. Clouds are going to be sticking around. Maybe some rain showers, maybe some thunder bumpers by this afternoon. High of 77. Wind is going to be a factor. Gusts as high as 30-plus miles an hour. Tonight, that is going to continue, gradually tapering off. We are expecting a low of 43. Tomorrow, a slight chance of rain showers and possibly some thunderstorms by the afternoon. We will see a little bit of sunshine. Still going to be breezy and a high of about 64 by tomorrow night. 50% chance of rain showers with a low of 43. Then by Wednesday, guess what? More rain. High of 56. That's look at your weather for Zebit Ranch.
Oh, it's that time of the year. Pretty unsettled, but thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. And the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I had a very enjoyable conversation last week with this lady, and she is the officer for the Minidoka County Animal Control. Deb Hines, good morning with Dog Days. How are you, Deb?
I'm good. Seb, how are you today?
Well, not too bad. You know, everybody needs to have a puppy dog. Everybody needs to train a dog. Everybody needs to have the warmth and cuddly every night on those cold nights or those warm summer nights sitting out there on the porch. What's the situation with dogs available to the public over at Minidoka Animal Control?
Well, I've got several, but I would like to talk to you about a little chocolate lab named Fia.
Okay.
She's not a very big dog, but she is a sweetheart. She's black, but she's got a white spot on her side and on her face. I mean, it's just too funny.
Okay, and
She gets along really good with other dogs.
Uh-huh.
She's house-trained.
Really?
Trained. Kennel-trained. In other words, she's a very trained dog, and the only reason we got her is because the lady had to move.
Oh, my goodness sakes.
So she's a sweet dog, and she'd make a great family pet because she loves everybody.
How old a dog is it, Deb?
She's 2.
Oh, my. So she's
still young enough to do lots and lots of fun stuff.
She's young enough to go to a family situation. What about being around little kids?
She does. Well, it depends. Do you want to bath your kid regularly? Because she'll lick them to death. But other than that, that's her only downfall.
Okay, well, she sounds like an excellent dog, and the name of the dog again was, you want to spell that? I wasn't sure I quite heard it right.
Fia, F-I-A.
And she's available. How do people go about calling you and setting up a time to see this dog and some of the others we're going to be talking about? What's the easiest way for people to check this out?
They can call the office number, which is 208-438-2200.
Okay. And
then we set the appointments up, and they tell us what they want to look at, and we make sure they're available.
Okay.
What we do is we bring them from the shelter out to our big lawn by the office.
I see.
Give them the leash and tell them to have a walk and walk away, and they, play with the dog as long as they want.
Let me ask you a question that maybe a lot of people wouldn't ask, but I'm going to. What about, for the dog's sake, making sure that the owners are going to be in great care of the dog and that you trust the owners? Are you kind of discerning about who gets the dogs?
Yeah, we are. We're careful. I just, and honestly, when people come in, we watch the dogs really close because those dogs will choose their owner. And most of these people will come and they explain why they're looking for a dog. They've just lost one and they're good parents and yada, yada. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We do a little groundwork before we send them home.
I know in our case, we went to Arizona in February, and our little Corgi Cross Mini Aussie passed away, and there's nothing more hollow than to lose a dog that's been with you for about 12, 13 years, and the replacement of getting a new dog, it just kind of, I don't know, it invigorates the whole family, and so here's an opportunity at the Minidoka Animal Control to go and see a wide variance of different kinds of dogs. Now, we talked about a black lab. What else have you got this morning?
I've got, she's called, and don't ask me where this came from, but this is from the vet. She's an Old English mix.
Oh.
Her name's Naboo.
Okay.
She is fully vetted. She's black. Again, house trained, leash trained, kennel trained.
Oh, my.
People trained. And the lady had 6 dogs and had to make a decision, and that was one of the ones she gave up.
Oh, my goodness sakes. So this dog is very familiar to family and house situations, and it's kind of a sad note, but they just didn't have room for this dog anymore, correct?
Correct, and they didn't have time. And also, this one's another one. She's already cat tested and cat friendly, so, I mean, you can throw her with about anything or anybody.
Yeah, but not being cat friendly in my book is also a plus.
Yeah, I am going to agree with that one, but I'm just saying some people wonder, and that's what we have to make sure.
I absolutely agree with you. Now, what about another dog? You said you had about 2 or 3 you wanted to mention this morning.
Let's see. We got Balto. He's an 8-year-old husky.
Okay. Oh, a husky? Oh, my.
Yeah, and he's got pretty blue eyes. And he is a communicator. When he's with people and you're not paying attention to that guy, he's going to talk to you and kind of like chew your butt is honestly what he's doing.
Oh, my goodness sakes. And you said he's about 8 months old?
Smaller dogs. He's leash trained.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a big fan of cats. To quote one lady, when we said, how does your dog do with cats? She goes, I don't know. It's never caught one. So that's his case. We don't know how he is with cats because he's never caught one either.
Okay. Now, it's kind of odd, isn't it, Debbie, getting a husky like that? I mean, what were the circumstances behind this dog?
I have no idea because he was one of our Dropbox buddies.
I see.
We came to work one day and he was in there, and I never, even though I have paperwork for people to fill out so that I can at least have an update on the dog, there wasn't anything there. So we just have to bring him in here, put him out in the general population, watch him, and assess him.
Absolutely.
But he seems to be a really great dog.
My dad had a Malamute Husky when I was growing up, and that was one of the most family-oriented dogs. And you talk about a protection device for little children. Boy, that dog was a great babysitter. And not only that, they're beautiful, beautiful animals.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's not real. Little people, little kids, smaller kids that like to pull on ears and things. He's not real happy with them, which, I kind of get that. He's a little older, but he's a good people person.
Okay.
And except for the chewing you out when you're not paying attention to him, he's really quiet.
Let me ask you this. All the dogs that you have up for adoption, have they had their shots and are they literally ready to go right out the door to the people if everything works out?
Yes. And then the only thing they don't have is a rabies, and they, some are spay and neutered and some are not. But the way it works is when you adopt one, we've already given them everything except the rabies shot, and I can't give those because I'm not a vet.
Okay.
And then we schedule, if they're not already neutered or spayed, we set that appointment up, and then we get their rabies shot at that same time, and all of that is included in their adoption fee.
Oh, my. Okay. What about, I was going to ask you this last week and I forgot. What about people that maybe say, yeah, we'd like to get a dog. We've never had a dog before, but they say, what about training a dog, to heel, to sit, to do this type of thing? Where do people go to get dog training around this area?
Well, there's a couple places. I usually make phone calls for them if they need to know that. One of the people I call is Four Paws.
Uh-huh.
And they know some trainers. Deb Hopkins knows trainers. In fact, Deb can hook people up with trainers for therapy dogs, which we've done before. So people that need those, we have access to that. But that's what I do.
I see.
Because I just kind of hook them up with the people that know what they're doing and go from there.
Debbie, is there an age?
Already trained. A lot of these dogs are already trained. They
right.
Come in here, know sit, stay, shake. They know all of that stuff.
Okay. But is there a certain age, as far as working with dogs and everything, where you're kind of late? I mean, like if they get to a certain age, is it beyond hope for training or not?
No.
Okay.
These guys, they're smart. And some of these guys are honestly too smart. That's what I think. I've got one.
Okay.
It's too smart for me.
Okay. Listen, again, tell my audience what's the best time and the best number to call and find out about these beautiful dogs that you were talking about this morning, and maybe we can find them a brand new family to go and stay with. Give us that information one more time, real quick.
Okay. We're here from 9 to 1, and the number is 208-438-2200.
All right. Deb Hines with Minidoka Animal Control. Thank you. God bless you. And next week we'll feature some more dogs. Thank you so much for being on the program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for us. And, boy, those were some good-sounding dogs right there. I mean, the Husky and the Black Lab and everything. You better check it out today. We're going to wrap it up and say the way things were, the way things ought to be. And the 4 words that we really adhere to at the end of the program, in God we trust. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06. And you have a good day. Stay safe. Say well. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you.